everyone, and thanks very much for coming to this event. This is a London branches event with the BCS, and I'm sure you know that because that's why you come. You also know that it's an event that I will entitle Waste Not, Want Not. But firstly, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Darlin, and I'm the chairman of BCS London branches, which comprises London North, London Central, and London South branches of the BCS. It's a great group of people and lots of committee members who pull together and we do things. We do things and we do them usually by computing. Now, I want to ask the audience here a question. With your old computers, have you got them in a drawer at home? What do you do with your old IT equipment is what I'm heading to.
Still in the drawer.
Who has got lots of old IT equipment? And the answer is everybody. Super, that's great. It's great to collect, isn't it? And those drawers really love it. So have you ever given any IT equipment to charity? Who has?
Time ago.
Four people so far, five.
Still sharing.
Now I question this, but 5 or 6 say they have, but I wonder. What about other things as well? Other electrical equipment? What do you do with those? The usual answer is to put them in the bin. Who puts them in the bin? Yes.
Local council.
Nobody admits to this. But
It's recycling.
you recycle it in the bin.
No, local council.
Recycling.
In the recycling.
In the
centre.
small electricals.
Local council, yeah?
Yeah.
Local council.
Okay. So who actually takes old electricals to the recycling centre?
Yes.
This is wonderful. Almost half of our audience do. That's great. So who gives it for recycling to a charity that will do something with it? 1.5 people have proudly put their hands up. Wonderful. Well, this leads me to introducing our speaker, Simon Rooksby, but also to our coordinator for this event, who is called Imo and is playing with his presumably not yet obsolete computer in the corner over there. So Imo, who is the secretary of BCS South London branch, may I now hand over to you?
Yeah,
Good.
I'm still trying to become co-host on this meeting so that I can control who's coming in. I have to get the BCS person to do that for me. Welcome to BCS London. In case you don't know who I am, I'm the secretary for the London South branch. And lovely to see so many of you. We haven't had very many meetings under the BCS London South branch aegis until recently, because that committee has been a little bit on the ground. But I'm very pleased that I met Simon Rooksby at a church event a couple of months ago, wasn't it? And he told me about his work and it sounded so interesting. I wanted to invite him along here. Just before he comes up to speak, I just need to do a couple of hygiene things. There's no fire alarm scheduled for tonight. So if you hear the bells, please leave by the back doors and turn right. That's the flames on that side, in which case turn left and go to the extra emergency exit there. The toilets are also this way and to the right. And we're going to have pizza coming in at around about 7:30. So is there anybody here with special dietary requirements?
Gluten-free, but I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about meat.
We normally order at least 1/3 plant-based or vegetarian.
Not gluten, not vegetarian.
Oh, gluten.
No, don't worry. I don't eat pizza then on that basis.
Well, you can get gluten-free. Good one.
Okay.
Okay, brilliant. So I think that's all the admin dealt with, and I'd like to call upon Simon to present his very interesting talk.
Very kind, very, very kind. I've come all the way up from Eastbourne today.
Me too.
It's been a bit calamitous. I've only just got here. There was a chap collapsed at Victoria Station, and I'm not one of these people that can walk away. So unfortunately, I've assisted the team there, and then there was a stabbing. So I apologise. So I'm a little bit rattled, and I'll do the best that I can. The same with the technology. So I I have dreams. They don't always go in the same direction. Thank you very much for your introduction. There, I'm going to give the bad news first, and then hopefully we can lift bar and lift the game about recycling. And then you might have a better idea how it is. I have a question to ask, so, and obviously there would, if anybody does have a question, we can deal with that. And that would let me off the hook if anybody does have questions. But is everybody working within the IT industry here? Got a fair number, and whoever's on Zoom, there as well. So part of the message really is to your industry and also to the corporate sector. So Computers for Charities is am I allowed to stand here?
Sure.
Apparently I mumble, so So I don't know whether there's
The pickups all over the
amplification.
room, so
Yeah.
wherever you're standing can be heard.
I'm always having a go. I go off. So help me with this. Can you
Just begin.
know the slides?
Yeah, it's all fine.
Are you going to do it?
You just did.
I didn't touch anything, did I? I'm not an IT person. I will confess to this. I have no love of IT, which is why the irony is I founded a charity that specializes in IT. So I have every sympathy with you all, but it's not my bag. Thanks.
So what's happened is that you started the PowerPoint presentation. Wasn't showing you the presenter view.
So what I thought we'd start off with is I had a bit of a shock this weekend. I thought I would look at the statistics for what they call electronic waste. And the thing we need to know is Britain, England, is the second worst producer in the whole world. This country alone, regardless of America, Russia, China, or anybody else, is the second most highest producer of electronic waste. And the downside of that, despite your marvelous efforts of going to your recycling centres and doing this, that, and the other, only 31% of this stuff is actually being recycled. It's still going for landfill. This is what I thought and I'd hoped when they brought in the legislation in 2007. Has anybody heard of the WEEE directives? I think unless you're dealing,
WEEE, yes.
yeah, I think unless you're dealing with that, these are cyber crimes, whatever, and everybody else is. But there's other people that deal with the actual disposal and redeployment. But in 2007, Europe, and we were the last country to adopt this in Europe. This is Britain. Waste electronic equipment directives, which meant that we had to phase out using landfill. What country are you from?
Nigeria.
I'm from Zimbabwe. Yeah. So we're talking at different levels for people that are of a multicultural background. The Western world is very different to other places, and so, that's. I'll just press a button, shall I?
Arrow key, I think. Go forwards and backwards.
Now, this is the idea. This is the dream you have since they brought Europe and Britain's brought in this legislation. That everything's being done nicely, and the world is becoming a better place. I'm sorry to say it's not, but it's even harsher for countries like my friend here and ours, because we do not have the infrastructure. It was quite clear in 2007 when they implemented the laws and made more of a fuss about banning smoking from public buildings than they did about making the world more toxic and hazardous. Did you know back then, Apple, the plastics in their machinery was one of the most toxic plastics on the planet. It had cyanide in it. And we were just throwing that into the ground, and it's still there leaching away. We do not understand when we're in the job what it is we're actually handling and what it contains. And you know, these things are a responsibility that we need to be aware of, I think. So, yeah, 31% of electronic waste, which is not just computers, it's all the stuff we have in our houses these days, is being dumped basically. Because the costs of processing are so high, it's not inherent for businesses to take it on board to do proper recycling because there's no return. The average home owns 25 electronic devices. I'm sure with you techies, it's a lot higher than that. And you were absolutely right, sir, about hoarding in people's houses. We do. But I'm more interested in your offices. I'm more interested in your companies and the hoarding that goes on there. With Computers for Charities, we mainly deal with the corporate sector. And last year I had a phone call from the Ministry of Defence about one of their warehouses in Bracknell. I went down to Bracknell to go and look at this equipment, which was brand new, totally dormant, but it was absolutely useless because it was too old. And this is the thing with technology. If you're looking at reuse, it would be an insult for me to develop a schools program in Nigeria and give them equipment that was running Windows XP. You wouldn't be pleased, would you?
No.
And then leave them with the problem of having to mop up, what do we do with this stuff? So a lot of countries now, Uganda is one of those, have stopped second-hand equipment going in because they do not have the facilities for disposal. You know, and it's just got ridiculous. I get a bit cross at this time. This is a little bit emotional. So 14 billion pounds worth of valuable metals are discarded each year because of the practice of doing landfill rather than doing proper recycling. And recycling 1 million mobile phones recovers 16 tons of copper, 350 kilos of silver, 34 kilos of gold, 15 kilos of palladium. And yes, it looks good at £4.5 million in recovery. However, if anybody's ever done mobile phone recycling, time it takes and the materials that you use to do, the equipment you need to do proper recycling, it would far exceed that cost that you're going to, so they don't get recycled, which is a shame because we're mining and draining the resources from numerous countries rather than putting them back. And the UK generates significant IT waste ranking as the world's second largest producer per capita. So we've got something to be proud of. we've got a medal. The sad thing is 500,000 tons of e-waste is illegally exported from the UK each year. And that's going to Nigeria, it's going to Ghana, it's going to China, it's going to India. And if you've ever been to these places and see what goes on, we're putting people's lives at risk. It's a bit like the clothing scandal with the excess of clothing now and countries being swamped. And because it's synthetic, there's no way of putting that back into use. So that's the bad news. Are we ready for the good news now? It gets better now. We've gone through the through the bad cop. Now we move on to the good cop. So I'm Simon Rooksby. Pleasure to be here, and I feel quite overwhelmed being in a place like this. I'm totally out of my depth because, as I've already said, IT is not my industry. My industry is health and people. So this charity that I have started up, the focus for me is actually the people that we support and we serve, we assist on that, and IT is the tool. So in 1992, I was in Bosnia during the war there, and that gave me a wake-up call, being in a situation like that and seeing hand-to-hand, face-to-face, how short life can be. And subsequently, I've been into lots of other places, Sierra Leone, Nigeria. I spent time in Nigeria, not just in prison, Congo, and that's been, the wonderful thing, something that started off as an interest has sort of mushroomed out and become quite traumatic. So I was employed by the NHS and they used to give me projects to do. And back then because most of you are very young, you're very young, aren't you? And I'm not going to even ask you because it would be very impertinent to ask a lady her age. But back in my day in 92, we were using things called typewriters. Have you ever seen one? So our medical secretaries, everything was either on typewriters, duplicators, and machinery that you'll see in a museum. And they used to give me projects, development projects, because that's something I seem to do. And one of them was introducing IT. But no knowledge. Has anybody studied at Chelsea College in London?
So that's Secretarial College.
No, it was. I went to Chelsea College when I was young, and I saw a mainframe, whatever it is, and I saw this ticker tape coming out of it, and I thought, what is the point of that? This one, this big room, that's with this terminal and paper coming out of it. And I thought this will never catch on. You know, it's a bit like Henry Ford producing the motor car and people going to the moon, and look what's been achieved. So I have to eat humble pie on that one. So that was my first.
Watson of IBM famously forecast that there would be a world need 5 computers.
Yeah,
One in every city.
Yeah.
and we all got it wrong, didn't we? Yeah. But that was the inroad. So working in the NHS is like working for a charity. So we want to do this thing, we want to do this development, but we've got no money. And ironically, I'd seen an article or several articles about what corporates were doing with their redundant IT. Didn't actually know what a computer's function was or what was a good one or a bad one. But near to us was based a company called Fidelity Investments, who are quite a large company. And I went and spoke to their people and said, can you help us with this? We want to try a pilot, set up a program to do some basic authorization, and maybe from an administrative point of view, they sponsored the whole thing, which was fantastic. Then I had to get some education. So the NHS paid for me to go and learn a bit about computers. The problem was the thing just kept growing, and I was working full-time within the NHS, doing this thing as a hobby, and it just grew. So against my better judgment, we developed a charity which was going back to 1994. So we were the initial movers and groovers in this whole thing, before it became trendy today. And it's been fun. We all do it for free. So within the organisation, I've kept away from going corporate and kept it at grassroots level, so that it's friendly. So anything we do, which you'll see in a minute, has been by invitation, it's been by cooperation, and it's been about local investment. It's not a question of going in and saying, I think this is a good idea. It's about speaking to people and saying what you want and how do you want it to work, and what are you actually going to put in it. And the amazing thing is these things are workable. So our African Schools Online program was an initial invitation to Zimbabwe to provide a number of computers for a school. But what's grown off the back of that is looking at developing curriculum, getting communities to work together, expanding the usage of the computers, because they've got a sell-by date that they're used by the community as well as by the school. And the thing is self-funding and self-developing. So before long, and you're only going to get 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100, one of them, they were up to A-level standard and they were able to actually invest in their own equipment. And that's what we want to do when we're going outside, is encourage cultures to have the confidence to grow and to develop in whatever it is. And needless to say, you come across other things and I get involved. So my fellow trustees, they've got used to me after 30 years and they're very tolerant, because they're thinking, what's he going to get us into this time? So literally, without a budget, without any funding, what the charity has achieved through the generosity of corporates who've actually seen it has gone has gone wayward. But also the recycling aspect and bringing in awareness of recycling. I mean, we were the ones that were revising the Mayor of London. We were also the ones that are revising on. We were working with universities, Surrey, Loughborough, and universities in Belgium, and looking at European practices, and we're putting in input. So it's not just about giving us your old computers. We love, we enjoy a project, and also we want to look at development. So Slumdog's Millionaire, most people have seen it, some people have cried over it, but it's a reality. We have done projects in the slums in Mumbai, in Delhi, in Calcutta. We've done projects in, I've been put in prison in, Mr. Mugabe put me in prison accusing me of being CIA. We go into the raw places and we see things how they are. But we put getting investment now with the WEEE directives. Disposal companies are supposed to pay money to the government for what they call landfill tax credit. But can you get any funding for actually recycling? No. You can do nature environment, you can restore churches, but if you want to actually turn the money around to what it was given for, to get granulators for plastic's one of the biggest problems. A producer who recycles plastic won't accept raw plastic. You look at your laptops, look at your phones, the amount of plastic, unless that's been made into a certain particle, it just goes in the rubbish. So the bulk of rubbish that's going, to the tips, the plastic. Look at the printers. And so we were having to ship printers to Bavaria because there was no facility within the UK. And when we look at our own recycling, which we're very strident about, got stuff that has to go to Scotland. So when we have a load, it goes to Scotland. Stuff that goes over to Kent because the facilities are there. So it's lovely, but the thing is, if it's not fit for purpose, we have quite a job on our hands, because if you do it properly, it takes you half an hour or an hour to construct and then to map out the pathways for things to go to so that it's safe. So it's not a 5-minute job along with the mobile phones. So now what about this? 106 countries we've had input to over the world. I've been as far as Kiribati. I've actually driven a motorcycle to Moscow and worked with the Moscow City Council. Even were approached by the Taliban and ended up advising on educational projects for boys and girls in Kabul. And it's been a phenomenal journey, and it's lovely to sort of meet with people. As with you guys, there's a lot of you really have a heart for what you're doing, and you've got that creativeness. Don't lose it. This is why the NHS hated me, because I couldn't just sort of look the other way. I would want to try just a different way and see how it goes. So well done, everybody. 250,000 items have been distributed through corporate from companies. So whatever companies you're working with, I mean, we get Shell, and I don't go begging. A lot of the companies have been so kind, they come to us. I'm at Clearcast here in London, who is involved with the advertising. Ferrero Rocher is always you'd love that one. They always give you free samples. Do you like chocolate? Starbucks was a good one because you get free coffee, but it's not about that. It's really having suitable equipment that we can pass on. And if I'm shipping it out if I'm shipping a container out, I'm not looking at doing the one project. I want to do 20 so that it's sustainable. No good just doing the one school. You've got to get several working together. And you know what we're like back home. We're very territorial, aren't we? We don't like working with others. And that's what it's about. It's about breaking down barriers, breaking down traditions, and sharing. And that's the other thing about these sorts of projects. They are good. So also, if we're training up teachers to become IT guys as well, they're going to go and get a better job. And if you've got 20 schools, at least one out of the 20 will remain, and they can keep the whole system going. And then bringing in local businesses so they've got our IT access, you've got a bit of money coming in, which will then be able to help you to invest and to make it better rather than bringing Simon up and saying, we need some new computers. So it's going through the whole thing rather than just taking in old computers, shipping them out and dumping. There's got to be a purpose. It's got to be sustainable. And then there's got to be an end solution. So that we're always, which is what we're always looking at. A large part of our role, and there's not many of us now, you know, COVID unfortunately has killed off most of my volunteers who've been with me for decades, and mainly people that have come to a retiring age, and a lot of people that have come out of the industry have come in. There's not a lot of us now. And hello, Stephanie, nice to see you. Our main role when we set the thing up was to look at the voluntary sector in this country. Not interested in the big organisations, Oxfam, Save the, because they, you know, or even Great Ormond Street, who've got millions and millions and millions coming. It's the small guys that have got a vision within their community, or you know, or an idea, and it's not just about providing the IT, but also giving them the skills to run that organisation and knowing how to go with it. So there's a lot of interpersonal stuff, if you like that sort of thing. Do you like that? Yeah, you like people. You talk a lot. You've been very quiet here, haven't you? So this is the other aspect. And a lot of our volunteers that come in, it's also providing a purpose. That they you know, they could be carers, they might well have a disability. So the workshop itself provides the function as well. And this is something I'm trying to replicate in other areas, other cities, because there's a lot of need. Are you English born? Where are you from?
I'm also from South India.
South India.
I was born in Africa.
Where were you born? Were you kicked out by Armin? No.
I was born in Kenya.
Yes, you're the second Kenyan I spoke to. I got lost coming here, and I popped into some apartment, and the guy in reception, he was another Indian come Kenyan. Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, yeah, we've done a lot in Kenya as well, but it's dealing with the systems, and the systems are very different to here. That you've got to learn, you've got to adapt. If we get an invitation to look at a project, normally look at several. And then before I go, we do the diplomatic thing, which is actually providing our credentials to the embassies or the consulates, so that you know, we're not seen as being aggressors. And then likewise, when we go out, it's about showing courtesy and diplomacy to people because we go as a guest, you know, rather than being conquerors. And you know, so a project will take between 6 months and a year to actually get it from. Zimbabwe was an interesting one. Got this invitation to provide these computers, and as with a lot of countries, not London, but once you get out of countries, we're going out to the rurals, the word gets around pretty quick. People talk, don't they? And the next thing is we'd had a phone call from the, we used to have an airline in Zimbabwe called Air Zimbabwe. We like what you're doing, we want to sponsor that. And for several years, they provided free freight, free flights, so we could actually get resources in. The government said, we like what you're doing, and you won't have to pay any duty. So this is another important thing, is duty free. You get full clearance rather than 20% being lost in the customs houses when they get out. And that was one of the amazing, 100,000 children got access to a computer for the first time. The first time. It's a different world. So unless you've either travelled or got an experience of being outside of the Western world, the opposites of people live in. One world when they're not working is no electricity or running water. And then if they are working or they're at school, you know, there are facilities. So it's quite diverse, and it's adjusting to that and understanding that. It's a privilege. So when you're providing something, give people the opportunity to actually step up. IT skills are essential. It's absolutely so. Why should we deprive 80% of the world of something this 20% of the world got? We've got to equal the playing field here. And I don't know how to do it. I can't do it on my own. But at least, you know, it's that story. Has anybody ever heard that story about the starfish? Somebody must have heard it.
A father took the son to the beach, and there are hundreds of starfish got sore on the beach. And the son started picking up each and every starfish and throw it back to the ocean. The father said, "Son, there are hundreds of them. You can't save them all." The son said, "Dad, if I can save one life, I make an impact."
And it's the same with this. When I went to Bosnia that first time, I thought, oh, we're doing a big thing. When I got there and I looked at what we achieved, it was nothing. And I felt totally useless, totally helpless. The same with that, but you've got to turn the thinking around and saying, yeah, okay, we can't solve it for everybody, but possibly for somebody, and that person might be able to then generate it. It's about doing something rather than doing nothing. And this educational program, I think it's dynamite. I just want to see it. You know, so whether it's India, South America, it's got purpose. You know, it's easy. Another thing that happened, we got a phone call from our local prison. Does anybody know where Lewis is in the county of East Sussex? That's our local prison. And they said, we've got a bit of a problem within the prison service is the standards of literacy are deteriorating and our prison education is too highbrow for the prisoners. So if we want them to do, does anybody know what Cisco exams are? I would hope so. For some of you. It was taking them 2 to 3 years to actually finish a Cisco because they didn't have the skills, either literacy or even practically. So we're up for a challenge, and they said, will you be able to develop a range of vocational subjects which are accredited that could be introduced and then maybe be a jumping, a step up for them to then move on. And it took us a long time because, again, we weren't funded. And something like that, to actually develop a course, start to finish, has actually got an outcome for a proper qualification, is a minimum of £100,000. But a lot of people came on board, people from the industry. I mean, we've had people, business in the community, and other people have offered skills. And I know who are the other IT people? The Worshipful Order of IT. Have you heard of the Worshipful Order of IT?
No, worshipful company.
IT professionals,
Yes.
Yeah.
the 100 City Livery Company.
Yeah, because they also have a charity side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they've been very good at providing us with certain skills along the path. So, you need to be aware of what's around and who's doing what. We're very cut off, and it's good if we work together. And they were helpful, so we got that one through. And now that's been adopted by the Scottish qualification, and they're using it in secondary education in Scotland. They love it. But I want to get it into Nigeria. I want to get it into India, because it's actually giving them a practical and theoretical skills away from the normal ones that you've got in the schools. And also here with reskilling people and getting them into employment. So we're looking at lots of different things here, and everybody gets confused because there's a lot of jumble. But in my head, I get it. But so I'm sorry if it all sounds a lot.
Quite often see vocational stuff, various charities, and one of the biggest problems I see is out of datedness.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at a latest version of some form of something that they was promoting, and one of the questions in this high level, sort of A-level-ish, was the question was, what's best, packet switching or circuit switching? I mean, talk about nonsense. It's a nonsense question, anyway. But you can't answer that, can you? Well, yeah.
Well, again, it's about speaking to the platform, the appropriate platform. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Trying to keep that sort of stuff up to date.
Well, it's like now from the refurbishing point of view,
Yes.
which is part of what we do. Yeah,
That's what I was trying to get to.
it's got to be Windows 11.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
No, but it's what I'm just trying to think how you keep up with what you're supposed to, what is, I won't say saleable because it's the wrong word, but what is reusable.
And this is where you have to have,
Good one.
you have to have, what's the word?
Benchmarks.
Benchmarks, yeah.
If we're all going to Windows 11, that means there are a lot of workable Windows 10 computers out there that are not being supported. So what are we doing with them?
Well, the good news is they can be supported in Windows 11.
Some, no, not if they're very old.
I'm not saying all, a good number can be,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
But it's the life cycle of that piece of equipment, which is going to end up in landfill if we're not careful.
Well, if it's coming to us, it doesn't go for landfill because we actually recycle it appropriately. But as we've seen elsewhere, despite the people that come to your companies provide commercial services, they're not necessarily giving your company the full story, despite saying we're giving you a free deal. When we started off, and when they introduced WEEE, there was a charge. The companies would prefer to go to a charity because it wasn't going to cost them anything. And I'm so gullible and so nice. Man, I'm a nice person. I couldn't charge to come up to London 4 or 5 times a week and come and collect computers from companies.
But it's also from individuals because more and more people are working for themselves and work from home.
I mean, the problem with individuals is they leave it too long. They leave it too long.
Yeah.
And this is where we have to be ruthless in weeding it out. And probably you sort of people are probably the worst for letting things go. It's called tough love, you know. It's no good unless you're going to run a museum.
Well, if I've got a 6 or 7 year old person I'm not mentoring at the moment who has a MacBook Air, she cannot upgrade to the latest version of the operating system as those various applications have stopped working. So if she wants to recycle that,
Yeah, no, she puts
it's no
mint.
use to you.
No, she puts mint on it.
Right. So
Nobody here.
we have a local recycling centre at the Borough of Sutton.
Yeah.
And if you take it there, they've got hoppers for various types of equipment, including old printers, televisions.
You know what they do after that?
I wish I knew.
You pull them out and they sell the things they think are okay in the shop.
Oh no, there's a separate bit where the resaleable things are taken.
Yeah. The thing is, it will vary from company to company, but as we've been told, only 31% of all of this stuff is actually getting recycled. They'll probably, without whatever the good bits are, might be a bit of memory or this and the rest of it will probably go through a shredder and then just be chopped up into chunks.
But are we not all frightened of scammers getting hold of our valuable data?
Of course we are. Yeah, so that's another thing we've had to do because of the august people that have kindly supported it is introducing very secure methods. So we've got one of only 2 hard drive shredders in the country that we had shipped in, and we were kindly given, and it was shipped free of charge from America because they do industrial over there. And for many years, we were actually going on tour and taking it round to company's premises and providing a free shredding service. That then goes in directly into a furnace. It doesn't go for landfill because we've made sure that there's no. So it's a question. I'm small enough that I know what the routes are. The bigger you go, the more corporate you get. There's a big distance between top and bottom. I mean, we had this business in the NHS. We got the chief up there, and the dear old cleaner down there. So I would ring the chief exec and I said, well, it's about time you came down and did a visit because people don't know what you look like. It was a bit like having
AI will know what they look like.
Yeah. And speak to them and be nice to them. It's about being valued, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's difficult. So, again, with us, our policy since day one has been because you're transferring your liability to us. If something goes wrong, we're breaking that agreement. So and that's how we operate. If people are giving us equipment, reliability is coming to us, and data is top of the list. Yeah. So right from the start, you know, on the old fashioned hard drives, you know, we were looking at the most secure systems to do data wiping. But given the time it does, it's easier to replace them with new, which is now solid state or M.2 drives, and then all the old fashioned stuff goes straight through the machine. And you know, we're now developing ways of destroying the you know, the newer hard drives, either with you know, electromagnetic pulses or physical destructions, that they are totally unsuited. Because people need to know, I mean, it's such a dangerous world. I mean, you spend all your time picking up the pieces, don't you? So yeah, bottom there, it's our ethos in valuing people first and then giving them the right tools, the tools they actually need. So we actually got a good write-up with DFID. Does anybody know who DFID is? Because you're a clever man, aren't you?
Debatable.
I've heard of them. That's not it.
Yeah, it's Department for International Development. So Microsoft have gone out. They've done their, you know, their computer centres. The World Bank have gone out. DFID kindly said to us, "Yours are the only ones that work because you do it the other way round. You do it from the bottom and then work it up, rather than going out and sticking a nice shiny, beautiful thing. You start with the basics, and then once people have got the skills, then you can build it up. Okay. When you're building a house, how do you build a house?
Foundation first.
The foundations have got to be firm, haven't they? So is everybody on board? Is the community on board? You know, will they adopt it? I was in Uganda, you know, and I got taken to a place, and the bishop there was telling me his cathedral's falling down, and I need £100,000 to get this thing. If it wasn't Westminster Abbey, I mean, you know, back home, it's corrugated roofing, brickwork. So again, it was getting it back to the basics rather than us all giving the handouts. It's helping people to have that confidence that they can do it themselves. So we walked around it, we looked at it, we looked up, we looked down, and I said, "How many people have you got coming to the cathedral?" And he said, "Such and such." And then I said, "Well, what sort of skills have these people got?" Such and such. So in theory, we can do A, B, C, and D because we've got all that around us. And what about this? What about that? But by the end of the time, we'd moved from £100,000 to £50. And it wasn't to insult the bishop. It was just to help people see things differently, which we have more access to than other communities do. So this is a lot of what it's about, is about breaking boundaries down, telling the people they can, and also how to do it. If you go into the former Eastern European countries, there's a mindset that people don't. I do a lot. I've been working in the Ukraine over the last couple of years, and Bulgaria, Serbia, these sorts of places. And again, it's breaking through that, where people are being pushed down and showing them that it's okay. We can try this, and it won't go wrong, and you're not going to be in trouble. But, this is a very important thing when you're dealing with cultures, is understanding where people are coming from. So we've been going a long time, and I've got old. I was young back then and very energetic, and I'm coming to the stage where I'm looking for somebody to hand the baton on to, so that I can do the more interesting things, which is like lying in bed one day, a day off. The thing with running a charity, if any of you ever go, are any of you self-employed?
Sort of.
Yeah. You know what it's like. You can't have a day off sick. If you take holiday, there's no money coming in. And running a charity is like that. It's 7 days a week. I don't do marketing. I don't do advertising. It's purely the ethos of what the charity is about. You've got all these people going around trying to sign you up with this, that, and the other. I'd rather whatever we raise, which isn't a lot, because if you've got the name Computers for Charities, it doesn't show you fluffy dogs, does it? Does it? No. It doesn't show sparkly, shiny, or babies and that sort of thing. at all. So it's never worked for us. The name has never worked in being people donating financially. Equipment wise, it's been fantastic, and it couldn't have worked unless mainly, as I say, mainly the corporates. Young lady, what's your name?
My name is Francis.
Right, I'd rather call you by your name rather than say lady, lovely looking lady. But when you're doing a larger project, you want to have everything matching. So if I've got British car auctions giving me 1,000 machines, I can lay it all out in a line, and I can, when I put it in, I've got it all coordinated. Quite often with home computers, yours I would take because I like you.
Well, I'm queuing up, but I didn't bring them in my backpack today.
Because I like you. You look like a nice lady. But it's very difficult, and we want to give everybody when it's going into a public place, we want them to have a good experience. It's not, and also for those that are maintaining it, have everything standardized. You've then got to introduce the safeguard systems as well with these projects. So generally with the schools things, we've got to put in the networking element. We've got to put in security, because teachers are dangerous. Teachers are bad. They all think they know something, and then before you know it, the whole thing's got viruses and it's falling down. So we've got to do that. Then other places there's no electricity, or we're starting to learn this in England now about power cuts. A lot of culture. It's a way of life. I remember one day there was a knock at the door where I live, and I looked out the door, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I thought it was one of the trolls out of Lord of the Rings. There was a very little lady, I think it was a lady, and as it turned out in the conversation, she was blind. This woman had come all the way from Albania. She travelled all the way to Albania to where I live, pleading for the organisation to help them build a school for blind. Not the whole building, but the tech. Because in a lot of countries, disability is not supported, and a lot of you will know this. And whether you're blind or whether you've got a learning disability, whether you've got this, whether you've got that, in other cultures, it's not like here. Again, it's given, and it's not just children, it's also adults. So I thought, good on you, Mimosa. The least I can do, considering what you've done and what you've gone through, plus your English was very good. I've got no linguistic skills at all. Was we must go to Albania. I've been in bad places. And say I've been put in prison. I've got shot through the foot one time, and got lost in minefields and all sorts of things. Quite often we forget we're in a dangerous place, and we think we can behave the same as we would if we were going to Regent's Park. But you can't. You've got to factor it in. There's a risk. So we went to Albania, and it was grim. It was grim. Winter time, cold, -10, and because of their systems there, quite often no electricity, no running water. I'm sorry for the poor people of Tunbridge Wells who had to suffer in Florence for a week with no water supply. These people are having to live that on a regular basis, and there's nobody providing bottled water to them. We were so cold, we never got undressed. We used to go to sleep in our clothes, and then if anybody offered us a lift, we would say, no, thank you, because you remember the car doesn't warm up. We would walk there just to get warmed up. And this is how people are living. In Africa, I've worked in bush clinics. I've had people walking for 3 or 4 days coming to the clinic, and I'm sorry about this, but you've got children and babies dying in your arms when all that you've got is paracetamol or aspirin, and that's hard. In Mumbai, the project we had there, or for the arts again, and look at, was providing education for child prostitutes. Many of you parents, many of you got children. I have. I've got a daughter, and for me that was a hard gig. But I can't be judgmental. I've got to go in on a partial basis. This is poverty. This is real poverty. Parents aren't selling their kids because they're a disposable. It's because of how it is. So you've got to push that away and then say about getting back to the starfish. It's giving it a go. And maybe for some of those kids, just giving them that time, that moment, help them later on. In northern Bulgaria, Novi Pazar, there's a school there, for children with special needs and disability. Government supports them from the age of 7 to 18. When they get to 18, they're put on the streets. Quite often the girls, because they've got special needs, are trafficked and the kids are used for illegal operations. But we go in there because those staff are doing an amazing job. Quite often they don't get paid, but they love the job they're doing and they're coming with those kids. Solid foundation for that period that they're in their control. So we know what goes on, but we can't get down. It's awful. It's hard, but you know, try and give people the tools. So that's a bit of that. It's a bit varied, isn't it? I ramble a bit, don't I? So here we are. There's a picture of the volunteers there. Somebody actually gave us a donation, which I think was the local Sussex police. The photograph there is years old, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
computers.
CRTs. Yeah. And this is where we operate from down in Eastbourne. This is our workshop. We've got 4,000 square feet. And my aim is because people are giving their time and they all do it for free, you know, whether it's people that are who keep our networks going or people that are actually helping with the refurbishing or people that help with checking over the vans, people that look after the warehouse. I want them to have a nice environment. So it's comfortable, it's light, and you know, better than what we started with, which was in the loft in my bungalow, which used to get very hot in summer, very cold in winter. Then working out of barns, which used to flood in the winter. And it's been a process to get up to here and then open our facilities to others. So we have 306 Ukrainians in the Eastbourne area. So we provide a support hub for them and their families to come in, you know, whenever they want and run activities for those. How am I doing for time? Have I filled it up yet?
I'm going to wind up in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so we're pretty close then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
One question, I don't know if you're going to come onto this, but you mentioned the complexity of organising a supply, you know, shipping a container to somewhere in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be interested in hearing how you organise the project. What management techniques you use.
Well, the first thing is in any situation, whether it's in Africa or whether it's in Luton, is to actually go and do a site visit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had this when I was working in the job. I never took information over the telephone. So when I was on call and there was a disaster, I didn't take it over the telephone. I don't take it off. I actually go and look for myself. So my wife, bless her, my family suffered quite a bit with this, but it's about taking responsibility. So the first thing is go and assess and you've got to go and make an assessment in the first place. With overseas, it's very important. And again, it's about doing some learning, the culture aspect. So I was saying, quite often when you have multiple projects, they will be stronger than single projects. And also
There's a lot of moving parts. How do you coordinate all that?
quite easily, because you know, once you start, I find that it's a bit like a hybrid. It actually builds itself. Generally, I also link in, if it's an educational program, with the local university. Yeah, so it's knowing what's about, and especially for us, the British Council is everywhere. I've done a lot of work with the British Council, things like that, UNICEF, and you know, and other organisations. But they're there; they know what's going on, and try and gain. And then it's the diplomatic bit. It's so much easier going abroad than here. If I want to go and see Wes Streeting, I couldn't even get past the secretary. But if you go to other countries and just take a letter of introduction, you know, quite often you get 15 minutes. I was in Zimbabwe. I've been to Zimbabwe a lot. I mean, for me, it's my second home. I love it. I love East Africa. I'm not racist. Okay, I tolerate West Africans too. I even spoke to a man from North Africa on the underground, so I'm fair. But I'd like to know how things work. I like to understand things, whatever it is, whether it's the education system, whether it's prison service, and I like to ask questions, which sometimes a bit difficult for a lot of people. So I was in Bulawayo, which is in the south of the country. I kept going past this hospital, and I thought that's interesting. I think I need to see what's going on inside. I get quite brave. Would you believe when I was younger than you, we couldn't talk to girls? Do you believe that? I was so shy. I didn't stand up on the stage or even stand up in a situation like this and speak. I was terrible. I used to be so nervous and so anxious. And it was awful. But my dating life was pretty brief. Looking at me now, could you believe that? Not a bit jobby, aren't I? It's okay.
I think so. You are okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I can take it. I've got shoulders are good. Okay. But this is it. It's about breaking out of those. So yes, I actually walked in there and they said, "What do you want?" I said, "I'm come here to see the medical director." And I got straight into the medical directors. And he said, "Oh, how can I help you?" I said, "I'm going to work here for 2 weeks." He said, "Oh, that's fine." I worked in that hospital for 2 weeks. It was great. The attitude. Hospital that's depending on aid because they can't afford pharmaceutical. Hospital that's dependent on aid because they haven't got food to feed the patients. But the atmosphere was so positive. Here, we're struggling with so much negativity. Those places give me a lot of pleasure when you see, because people are inputting and they're allowed to be part of the whole thing. Where are you from originally?
Turkish.
I've never been. Yeah. People keep telling me, yeah, I don't like hot. The nice thing about East Africa is we have a very dry heat. He has a very humid heat. So we don't have that sort of, all the English people seem to love it, don't they? Yeah, the closest I've got is the Bulgarian problem. So yes, what you're doing constantly, and especially with the job that I did, was you constantly I've just developed those sorts of skills in having to manage and quite often do crisis management because you're dealing with an unpredictable situation. The guy at Victoria Station, there was a something over the Hanoi of his collapse on platform there in, and I couldn't walk away. I was like a beast. I had to go to just in case there wasn't anybody there to help that man. And then you just switch into it and it rolls. Take me out of that. I can't watch programs on the television with blood. I couldn't watch an operation. I couldn't even watch Dr. Pimple Popper. You know Dr. Pimple Popper? Couldn't do it. I had to look the other way. But because I've been conditioned and seen some pretty bad stuff. When it happens, you just, and the same with the organisation bit, the whole thing flows. So yes, it does, but it needs constant checking. You've got to double check yourself, not take assurances, because what will happen is, especially if it's going overseas, you'll get a phone call, "Oh, we've got a problem." And the problem normally involves American dollars. So with the Albanian thing, what I did was I met with the people who make the decisions, and I was able to get access to them. That if we did do anything, there wasn't going to be a cost or doing a good thing. So, and if they're not prepared to give that, then I walk away. We don't pay. We don't put money on people's time. Yeah, we do. We're very stoic. So where are we at? We've been waiting 2 years for a new website. If anybody's actually looked at the website. And again, it's all being done for free. And that's the thing is when it's all done for free, you just have to wait your turn. Carrying on with the Ukrainians.
I know Ukrainians who are web designers.
Well, the thing is they're working on different systems. Same with Bulgaria or what have you. The creativity is a bit different in these countries. It's a little bit suppressed. So thank you very much for your time. I haven't, as I say, covered a lot of things, haven't told you much. If you're working for a company, please ask them who they outsource their disposal to, because I want their machines. I love desktops, especially for schools and organisations. Yeah, sure. So that they don't get nicked.
Yeah.
Windows 11 I like because I like the kiosk program. You can set up an internet cafe type setup. Every time you log off, the thing goes back to default. So much easier for maintenance. And it's learning these things and practicing with them, which is what we do. And then we can roll it out and then we can start offering it around. Anything like that. We've been Microsoft refurbishers throughout, and that's the other way we've managed to do it all legally, because it's got to be legal and it's got to be upright. So it's going out, and so sending equipment out, when we send equipment out, that's fully functional and it's got all the packages on there, you know, the Zoom or the Teams, the Office. I mean, Microsoft are now doing free 365 for charities. You can get 10 licenses for free now, subscription. But we don't have to provide that. But before that, I mean, for the OS, it was £5 per Office. It was £5, so that made it a viable thing for us to.
We have now about 3 minutes for questions because the food's on the way. I would like to invite the people who are online. If you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself. Are there any questions in the room? Put your hand up.
You quite rightly pointed out all the global work that you've done, which is fantastic. But closer to home, when we had the COVID lockdown, it exposed a kind of complacency in our society that, oh, everyone's got an iPad. And it turns out, no, not everyone has an iPad. So did your organisation have specific activities around the COVID lockdown? And have we learned any lessons from it?
We haven't, no, because we're so picky. Yeah, we contacted the various counties, education. We offered them support. We offered them advice. Certainly don't donate loan. We made the offer, especially of laptops, especially the older ones with Mint, so they could at least do browsing, because that's all they needed. They don't need full blown, and that wasn't good enough. You know, we've got to have Windows. We've got to have latest, and I think this is the problem here. We're spoiled in choice, and yeah, we did another voucher scheme for low-cost families who didn't have a computer on the property where their kids could do their schoolwork. And again, they've got everything else, the houses we went into, because again, we do an assessment rather than just accepting this is the case. 50 quid. With the charities, we used to do it all for free, but then they would complain, oh, there's this wrong, that wrong. It's about giving it value. So now we actually, the nominal price on our equipment, but the money that we raise from that go into doing stuff elsewhere, it all goes around the system. So charities are actually helping charities. But yes, we didn't look the other way, and we were one of the organisations that didn't close either. Because we were so bombarded with the need for equipment. The problem we had was getting equipment to come in because everybody was closed up. Amazing. We got an amazing thing from one of the London banks here, actually a German bank. They made a mistake. They'd ordered desktops instead of laptops, and they were still brand new under warranty. You know, that's good. That's good gear. Francis.
How do you deal with the disenfranchised elderly who are too frightened to go on and fear for scammers and everything? Because I mean, there's an awful lot of people who actually are disenfranchised.
Unfortunately, we can't do everything. We're called Computers for Charities. Unfortunately, there is another organisation that's recently renamed itself to Computers for Charity. It's causing a bit of confusion. So Charities, that's us. In Sussex, we can't do everything, and it's realizing what you're able to do effectively. But we're aware of that, and we do work with Age UK and other local groups. And a year or two ago, we did a thing called a community computer tune-up day, which was inviting people to come into a local point across the country. We travelled all around the UK, and then people we could then redirect them to places where they could get help.
Thank you.
Whether it was computer classes or whether it was somebody that got Parkinson's. Yeah.
Thank you for that really interesting insight into a completely different life.